Hello everyone, and welcome to AC Spotlight. Today, I'm joined by Ella Carter, illustrator, game artist, and creator of Underfoot, an itty-bitty fae RPG. Welcome!
Hi, so nice to meet you. So nice to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
It is an absolute thrill to have you here. Especially, I love surrounding myself with such creatives, and you yourself are just stack on stack on stack on different creative aspects, especially within the TTRPG industry. Before we actually dive into sort of your history as well as what you're creating, quick icebreaker question for you.
Yes.
What's your favorite tabletop snack choice?
Oh, okay. Normally I will go with, I'm a Philly girl, so I have had soft pretzels at the table more than a couple of times. I feel like it kind of eliminates the crunchy snack, like DMing struggle that a lot of people have, but it's probably my favorite snack. Maybe not my go-to because sometimes they're tough to get fresh, but soft pretzels.
I respect that. Yeah,
thank you.
I've had a lot of answers to that question, and whenever someone tells me chips or something crunchy, I always go, "Are you sure?
Yeah.
Are you sure about that? All right, I won't hate on your choice, but I could judge."
I feel the same way.
Well, you are creating a system, a TTRPG system called Underfoot. Do you mind telling people, just sort of for those uninitiated, what is actually the realm, the world we're entering?
Yeah, it is straight up our world, just a whole lot smaller with a whole lot more magic. It is a really simple 3-stat roll under RPG. It's meant for all ages. I play tested it with a 10-year-old that I was nannying at the time, so I was like, if she can pick it up, anybody can pick it up. You can play as either a fairy, a brownie, or a sprite. These are the 3 fae sub-races, sub-classes, whatever you want to call it. And each one has different powers, different expertise, and you can live in either the house, which is any house you'd like, the woods, or the garden.
That's incredible. Were there any media inspirations that's sort of
Absolutely
focused more on sort of the small aspect of this?
Yeah, it gets compared to the Spiderwick Chronicles a lot, which I consider a huge honor and inspiration. Fraggle Rock is a big one. Pixie Hollow is a classic. And then also, The Secret World of Arietti, or the Borrowers. That's where the brownies come in. They're a creature from Irish folklore, and I think they're kind of underrepresented in fae media, and I would definitely want to include something like that.
I mean, I will not lie. I certainly had to Google brownies
yes.
when I started to read, obviously, sort of the front page information about Underfoot. It's like, I know enough fae to run a world, but not enough to actually get in the deep dive. Was there a lot of research that went in behind Underfoot before you started to settle on this concept?
Yeah, for sure. I dove into Greek and Roman myths for the sprites specifically because that kind of raw elemental, almost unpredictable power. That's where I pulled a lot from. I'm a Percy Jackson kid, so I had a lot of base knowledge, but when it came to getting things just correct and specific, I did a little bit of a deeper dive. Fairies were again pulled from just the standard boilerplate Pixie Hollow, European fantasy, exactly what you think of when you think of a fairy. And then a brownie, I had to again go a little bit more specific into that.
Yeah. Well, much appreciated to do that too, because sometimes these you end up uncovering unique story concepts just by finding finding the more niche characters or beasts or sort of folklore.
Yeah, and you want to honor that origin, but also make it your own for the game.
100%. You obviously, there's a lot of energy here that I'm sensing that's you are an amazing storyteller. Would love to sort of dive deeper. Are you yourself? Were you a GM prior to making Underfoot?
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. And yes, I was mostly, honestly, for children. I used to work at my old middle school running their Dungeons and Dragons club before I had to take off to focus on developing Underfoot. So that was a big inspiration. Every summer, I work at a camp called D20 Camp Philly, and it is a similar thing where it's a bunch of kids all playing Dungeons and Dragons together. Most of the time, I honestly prefer to be a player. One of my co-writers, Gideon, he is my DM in our long-running campaign. So when it came to ironing out combat mechanics, all that stuff, I was like, hey man, you have to help me out with this because this is your bread and butter, not my expertise.
Oh, incredible. Oh, well, honestly, GMing for minors and people who are definitely have a lot. Honestly, younger generation definitely has a lot more creativity than I do. So that's obviously a big plus. I can only imagine that it's quite difficult to wrangle a bunch of kids to sort of focus on the
Yeah.
story.
Yeah, especially in this like era of brain rot, I feel I want to give them
Oh, that's
credit.
fair.
I feel like they are it's not their fault, really. If I grew up with like having an iPad at access like constantly, I mean, I had a Kindle Fire with Minecraft Pocket Edition, and I was like a tablet kid for whenever I could, whenever my parents would allow it. So I think that it's a combination of making the game easy to pick up on and the story engaging enough to kind of just like get them off a screen for just a little bit.
Incredible. Were you mentioned that obviously you love being a player first before you became a GM. Were you a player first, then graduated to the GM seat, or did you find yourself in your introduction to TTRPGs as a GM first?
It was a little bit of both, actually. I started GMing in high school, I think. I mean, in middle school, there were like a couple of like failed attempts. So we would meet like one time or have a session 0 at our local library, and then somebody's mom would have to pick them up early or whatever. But when it came to like actually DMing regularly, I was the president of my high school's D&D club for a hot second, and
Oh my God,
also the
cool.
vice president. Thanks. And also the vice president. And to be a leadership position in that club, you had to be a DM. So the club would operate on alternating weeks. One week I would be a player, the other week I would be a DM. And so that's what helped me do it like regularly. And then moving into college, it was on and off like one shots for my friends, working with children, mostly that being like the regular like long form campaigns I would run. And now I'm majority player and I am loving it. I feel like I'm a writer out of necessity. Just because I had this thing I wanted to do, and to do that I needed to write. I also got a lot of support again from my co-authors. I've mentioned them a little bit, but Lee and Gideon. Lee helped me a lot with character design and NPC design. They are a cartoonist, so they knew what made a character like stand out and immediately like people want to like pick up and use them in the world. And Gideon hammered out a lot of the mechanical aspects when it came to combat.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about in terms of your team that you have for Underfoot.
Yeah.
How did you meet your teammates?
We all met at the University of the Arts in Philadelphia, a university that no longer exists. Unfortunately, it closed during our junior year, but we all played Dungeons and Dragons together. We were all friends. We were all in like the same circle. Lee and I studied illustration together at UArts, and Gideon was somebody that I met even before, like right before starting school, and we bonded over Dungeons and Dragons. So I think while I'm mostly in the indie RPG space now, my core is and will always be D&D.
I mean, that's fair. It is a big portion of the TTRPG community and industry, but that is incredible that inspiration and that history has brought you to here.
Thank you.
And sort of expanded your kind of horizons, allows you to sort of experiment and create something brand new. I absolutely love the setting of Underfoot. It's really fun to have sort of this the same reality that we're in now with sort of a magical twist. There was a line that I was reading that sort of all the material that is currently published and pushed out right now is that you could be a drain dweller or a member of the Tooth Fairy Guild, and that immediately tickled me. Are there any other like guilds, groups, or backgrounds that your little character can be with?
Yeah, I mean, I'm working on a couple more for Underfoot 2, or the first adventure module, or the second adventure module. Theo Messier actually pushed something out, which was very exciting, and thank you, Theo. But when it comes to backgrounds, we have the Muzzlemen, which are kind of like SEAL Team 6 of Fae. Their whole job is to keep the Fae a secret, and that concept is actually pulled from Vampire the Masquerade and the idea of the Masquerade. So when it came to like developing these things, I pulled a lot from games that I played with darker themes, like Call of Cthulhu, some OSR inspired things, and VTM to make a game that is both like family friendly but also very punishing. I mean, there is an entire group of Fae that are dedicated to making sure that humans, or giants as they're called in the lore, never ever ever find out, because what happens if a human finds out about the Fae? Extermination, danger, certain death. The death mechanics in Underfoot are very punishing. If anything goes wrong, you're gone. And that's because, you're little, you get stepped on, there's no coming back from that. So I think that the way combat is organized, it's a lot of problem solving, and it's kind of a system that is designed to problem solve instead of brute force your way through. And I say this as somebody that loves brute forcing in like Dungeons and Dragons games. Like, I recently played a barbarian for the first time. It was so freeing, so beautiful, so wonderful. But my game isn't really designed for that kind of play.
That's interesting. Yeah, you've selected and built a world that on the surface it feels like it's very simplistic. Of like,
Yeah, it is.
You're a magical fae folk who is living your life and having to deal with problems. But you've also, that's interesting that there is a moment, like almost a full foundation behind it of like, well, if there is magic in this reality, why aren't we aware of it, humans? And so that's really interesting that I like the inclusion of sort of the masquerade-esque kind of foundation behind it. That's so cool. SEAL Team
Thank
6
you.
Faye is really funny too.
Thank you. Yeah, it was very fun. I love the Muzzlemen. They were one of my favorites to hammer out. I think the Tooth Fairy Guild was also one of my favorites. Just the idea of like, in this game, a giant child's tooth is the most powerful magic item in the game. It is like the deck of many things of Underfoot.
Wow. Oh my God. I need to dive deeper into this. I also was laughing because I grew up in sort of the crass, MTV life, and I'm always thinking of like things that I grew up with, and now I'm thinking of like the Underpants gnomes from South Park, of like the reason why the Fae folk could be responsible for all the missing objects in your house. It's like, why can't you find your remote? I don't know, magic.
Yeah, literally that. I was thinking about that all the time. I mean, there was a while for development where I was like, is if somebody living in a missing sock, is that why your sock would disappear in the dryer? How are you people using like spare change and couch cushions as shields and things like that? Thimbles as helmets and needles as swords, like all the little things that you go missing. In the like interior cover, I have this illustration of like all of these like little tiny things that Faye could conceivably use.
Oh, that!
Thank you. Yeah,
So
this
cool.
came from, I was in I did my senior year at Moore College of Art and Design, which is, I believe, the only standalone art school in Philadelphia and the only historically women's art college in the country. So that was a really interesting experience going from something co-ed to historically women's for your senior year and for your senior thesis project. So this is what I did in my last year of college. I made a big list, pulled from all of the people in my senior class being like, hey, what could the Fae conceivably use? And then I used this illustration as like a repeating pattern in the cover and the interior pages on the itch page, and also as a reference. So I could like look at it and be like, okay, an SD card, tiny mushrooms, a fish hook, a pipe made of leaves, a thumbtack, a wand, a matchstick, a screw, a key, a slingshot, a golf pencil, things like that.
How tall are these Fae folk, by the way?
It varies.
Do you have like a canonical like average height?
Yes. Yeah, I say 1 finger tall.
That's
how
funny. That's so good.
But also, how big are your hands? I think
fair.
it's in play. People, it's pretty loose on purpose. I think I pulled from like the rule of cool a lot. Basically, I think I encoded it into the rules, being like, if your DM says it's okay, if your storyteller says it's okay, do it. That's fine. So like, is a finger the size of like a toddler's finger or like an adult person? So which finger is it? Is it a thumb? Is it a pinky? Is it a middle finger? Whatever. So you can kind of adjust your scale a little bit. I also think that like maybe there are some variations between the different species or subraces of Fae that are available to you. It's really whatever you want, whatever works the best for your story.
I will say that's really cool because there's this. For some reason, I built out a scenario right now of how that could kind of apply to character creation. Is when you're dealing with, and this is sort of my experience when it comes to like playing with new players at the table.
Yes.
There's not a lot of love for the smaller races, especially when we talk about like D&D.
Yeah.
Everyone's the height fantasy is real. Yeah, everyone wants to be sort of the tall, brooding, or not brooding, but let's not put words there. But definitely like you want to be the tall character. You want to be someone of height. I like the idea of going, all right, how tall is everyone? And then everyone just sort of putting their hand down and then putting up 1 finger and go, everyone's put their finger together. All right, that's how tall you are compared to everyone else.
Yeah.
That's
Yes.
so cool. You mentioned obviously having weapons and armaments and different ways for these small Fae folks can really kind of protect themselves. What are they protecting themselves from? What are the dangers in this world?
Everything is a danger to you. I have my favorite spread in the page, which again my friend Lee did pose for me for, is these 2 Fae, a brownie and a sprite, being chased by a cat. And I think that that's something that is, I have cats. I adore cats. My cat Penelope at home, she's nuts. If she saw a little guy like skitter across the kitchen, dead in a second.
Yeah.
absolutely done for.
Feral instincts take over, and then all of a sudden, yeah.
One of our most popular enemies that we've run before is a Roomba.
Oh my
Straight
God,
up
technology!
I think we called it something different because I didn't want to get smited by the Roomba gods. What did we call it? We called it
vacuum robot.
The infinite maw is a vacuum, and the mini maw is an autonomous robot vacuum. They both have a feature called swallowing winds, where on a loss you are just straight up sucked into the vacuum.
You weren't kidding that death mechanics are serious in this game.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny to pitch. Like, I honestly, I think this game has done really well with dads in general, because I'll be at conventions and I'll see dads with their kids, and I don't think that women need any kind of push to get into tabletop role-playing games or role-playing in general, because that's what we're doing all the time. I mean, the way I was playing with Barbies, it could have been Warhammer.
That's fair.
So I think that dads are really into like kind of like the OSR inspired mechanics and so, like some of these death mechanics that are like very popular, and then younger girls are really intrigued by the setting, by like I like fairies, I love Winx Club, I love Pixie Hollow, I love like Barbie Fairytopia, whatever. And so it's a really great like midpoint for people to meet and play and like get people excited about play. I will also say I made this campaign, or I made this booklet for girls in mind. Like I made this for myself at like 10, but I have seen success with all sorts of genders. I mean, I think that Fae isn't something that is gendered. It is maybe something historically, but not something that I put a lot of emphasis on here.
Yeah, I even think it's funny from an outside perspective. If someone looks at fairy or pixies, they go, "Oh, that's." They assume I would assume that sort of the direction is then femme coded.
Yes.
Everyone that I've met so far, at least from my experience, which again, this is only coming from my bubble, not speaking for all the other bubbles out there, but whenever there is a mention of like fae or fairies, everyone just goes, well, all right, well, who are they? And it's not who is she, which is always pretty nice within the TTRPG community, because we understand that roleplay and creativity can go across the entire boundary, which is fun.
Yeah, it's a big collective. That's also why I set up like the 3 communities of Fae to be like kind of like there are areas for like each of these subspecies to intermix and intermingle, like in between the garden and the house, in the gutters, in between the house and the woods beyond. There are a lot of like different things. I think this maybe was a little bit complex for a kid's game, or a game designed to be playable by children, but I took a lot of inspiration from Avatar: The Last Airbender when it came to political theater. I'm not sure, like when I sent you the copy, there are different political factions depending on which subspecies of Fae you are. The brownies operate in a like kind of council-based system. They're kind of like collectivists. The Fae, or the fairies, are an elected monarchy, which I pulled right from Star Wars. I'm a big Padme Amidala fan, oh,
wonderful. Yeah.
So, and then like frankly, the sprites are anarchists. They're just out there doing what they got to do. So it's really interesting to like think about like, oh, if you're in the house, you have to talk to like the council member of the bathroom, because you're entering the bathroom. If you're in the garden, there's going to be one queen, and you have to default to her. I believe the book provides Queen Buttercup as the example. And if you're in the woods, I don't know. You got to figure it out.
Careful, sprites might get you. Those are the stories that the brownies are telling each other. You know, when there's like young kids are like, I'm gonna go in the back garden. It's like, I wouldn't do that.
I wouldn't do that, because after the fairy stuff gets weird.
Yeah, everything got really weird. It's funny though, because it sounds like, and maybe this is just sort of good to tell sort of plainly, is it sounds like in terms of the gameplay that you would have with Underfoot, it's very much a mixture of both combat and roleplay.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely designed the combat system to be like more like logical puzzle based, but there are, because situations can get so terrifying so fast, there are like, it is basically baby's first OSR, which I really, really enjoy.
You know what? It with less sort of constraints on sort of a lot of the, you know, like the crunchiness of rules, it gives a lot of way for like creativity, which is also pretty nice. Like the fact that you mentioned too, like the fact there is sort of like this political theater behind everything. You don't technically need to install that for kids who may be jumping into it. But maybe for a little bit older, you know, older kids, you know, teenagers who are kind of interested in sort of the role play element, you're able to sort of weave that in, which is really cool.
Yes, I feel like with this game specifically, it's like a take what's relevant, and if it's not, leave it. It's totally fine. When you're making a game for all ages, I feel like being adaptable is the biggest thing, and that's something that I really tried to hammer home with this. Putting it directly in the game, this doesn't matter. You don't have to do this if you don't want to. Do whatever works best for your table. I think that is really important, and something that you're seeing more and more and more in indie tabletop games, especially.
100%. Is Underfoot built for long play, one shots, or both?
All of it. When it comes to my playing Underfoot, it's been mostly one shots, but we've got some live plays going that have gone for like 3 or 4. I think that you could do a long form campaign if you do the prep work and do the planning work, same for any other game. But I will say that most people have been doing one shots with their families.
I would love to run this as a long-term campaign. That'd be interesting.
Me too, if I had the time.
That is for, oh my god, that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. I'm always in this beautiful camp of letting people know kind of like the behind the scenes aspects of building projects like this. If someone had to come up to you, which, not to get into specifics of your actual sort of career, but I'm sure this does happen. But
yeah.
If someone had to come up to you and said, "Hey, I would like to create my own system or my own campaign frame," and they asked for you for advice, what advice would you give them?
Keep scope and scale front of mind first. Before moving into tabletop games in college, I studied video game development, and something that comes for us all is that blue sky creep where you're like, I'm going to do this and this and this, and I'm going to have 6 campaign books, and there's going to be 15 classes, and it's going to be D&D 2, not Pathfinder though, different. I'm gonna be like, okay, whoa, pump the brakes. You have to keep in mind what is realistic for your scope and scale. You have to avoid burnout at all costs, because if you get 10% of the way through a 500-page hardcover book that's like 8.5 by 11 each page, fully illustrated, and you're doing everything yourself, it's either going to take you a really, really long time, or you're going to be so busy you're going to hate yourself. Like for me, Underfoot is 5.5 inches by 8.5 inches per page, and it's about 80 pages, and that still took me about 9 months of full-time development, like folding this was my senior thesis project at college, so I had like at least 5 hours a week dedicated to working on it, and then extra time outside of class as well. So I would keep in mind what you are capable of and what is a realistic timeline for you first and foremost, because getting that framework is going to be able to help you prep out your crowdfunding campaign, whatever you want to do there. It's going to help you plan your art if you're hiring artists, if you're doing it yourself, if you're pulling from like free use images online, because that's an option too. Whether you're going to do a physical release, whether you're going to do it like keep it just digital PDF, both are fine, but you're going to have different goals for both of them. So just keep in mind maybe what you're capable of now, the amount of time you're able to dedicate to it now might be a better word for it, and what your end goals are, and then find a midpoint between there to make something that's realistic for you, that way you can keep that momentum going and keep that energy going for like other games down the line and building your network and things like that.
Yeah, I'm happy you said two things that are really important from what you said, beyond everything else that you sort of instructed, but I think the fact that you added in sort of your own timeline, and how kind of the process occurred for like the 9 months experience and the amount of hours placed per week, I think is super important for those who may not be aware of the amount of, again, that's not the foundation, it's not a baseline for everyone, but it's also good to hear, just so that people can kind of understand there is a lot of work when it comes to building your own system.
Yeah, especially if you're a small creator. I mean, I did all of the illustration, all of the layout, all of like the print formatting, things like that. The only thing that I got assistance with was from Lee and Gideon with the writing, with the combat design and the characters. So even like the initial, also like play testing, you have to fold in time for play testing, and you have to film it so that you can have stuff to market your game so people know it's existing and it's real. And it's just, there's so much that you have to consider before you even get actually started on production that it can be really overwhelming. So it's important that you take time for yourself too.
Yeah. And last thing you also mentioned was networking. It's an aspect of, I guess, just creation and as well as business overall that not a lot of people talk about enough, which is spend time,
vital.
Talk to people, connect, send friend requests, enjoy stuff, check out my stuff.
Yeah. Underfoot would not be as successful as it was, even if everything in Underfoot was the same. Even if Underfoot was better, if the art was better, if the writing was better, if everything was like exactly where I wanted it to be perfectly, and I did half the networking I did, it would have been a flop. Absolutely. I owe everything to Eric Van Horn, one of my professors at the University of the Arts. I believe he's now a world building art director at Lorcana. So good for him.
Cool.
Yeah, he got me my first ticket to PAX Unplugged, which I'm based in Philadelphia. PAX is my hometown con. I went there. I spent that entire convention begging and pleading people for art internships. And B and Tom at WeirdWorks gave me a shot, and I did some art for them. They introduced me to people. They went to bat for me. B, like, specifically took me along with them for meetings with people like Hit Point Press. And I remember talking to people from Darrington when I was like 19, 20. And I was like, this is insane. I have no idea what I'm doing. I was upfront about that to some of them. I was like, listen, I'm still getting started. I owe a lot to Let's Roll Press. They gave me my very first freelance opportunity for tabletop games. I did a magical item illustration for them. It was like Susuro, the Stormcaller Longpike. Maybe it's Susuro. That was my first like tabletop art thing. Then at PAX Unplugged next year, B and Tom took me to a GameFound hosted party because they were launching one of their projects on GameFound, and I networked there, and I met people that became my coworkers and my bosses. I think I had just turned 21. So that is like, if you start early, you're gonna go far. If you start now, the best time you can start is now, really.
Right.
And you have to like keep in mind, it's a luck-based thing. Like me being based in Philly for tabletop RPG specifically, I had no idea Philly was a TTRPG hotspot until I started doing it and meeting people. It's luck-based, but you have to make your own luck a little bit. You have to get yourself in the right rooms and then wait for the right time, and then you will go far.
Yeah, it's this concept of there is a percentage of success that is attributed to luck, but the other side of the percentage is definitely, effort and work base. So
yeah,
if you
with internships after my first PAX Unplugged, I reached out to over 200 people for internships. I think maybe 5 got back to me. One of them was offering payment, and that was WeirdWorks. And so I owe them like everything.
Oh, wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Elle, for joining me today and sharing not only with me, but also with the internet at large, both your own sort of TTRPG and creative backstory, as well as the works of Underfoot. Where can people find you and Underfoot?
They can find Underfoot at www.ellacarter.art, all lowercase. I've got my art there. I've got an Underfoot specific page. I have an itch.io page for Underfoot. You can find my Instagram at LSC.arterart.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, it's a little confusing. Somebody took Ella Carter art, I believe, and I was like, oh, nuts. But I'm most active on Instagram. My email is ellacarterart@gmail.com if you're interested in working with me. I'm also at my day job at GameFound. I am heading up GameFound's RPG party. So that is like my big project going on right now. I understand you're talking to a lot of them. I am so excited to see where their campaigns have gone so far and will go. They are an incredible group of people.
Yeah, I've been introduced to, and because of you, I've been introduced to a lot of amazing systems and settings that I have not even conceived, which was really, really cool. So,
they're incredible.
Thank you so much for joining us. And hey, everyone watching at home, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.